Hello, everyone. This is Pamela Van Nest, PVN Self-Compassion Coaching, and welcome to this pop-up training about results and change. Is change on your radar? We're going to take apart the formula of a radar and see what we can learn. And I'm just going to clear my throat before we begin. So results. Results. We're always looking for results in some form or other, whether we're aware of it or not. And I have learned over the years that no matter what kind of results we want in what area of our life we want, there are certain things that can impact that, can change our results. If we change a few things in this formula, we could change our results. And then there are two kinds of results. They are the intended expected results that we want, and then there are the results we get. So, I have a question for you. If you have a piece of paper and a pencil handy, a pen, write down these two words at the top, results on one side and change on the other. And now I want you to think about which one of those words is more motivational for you. And so if it has a big motivation for you, draw a big circle around it. And if it has not a lot of motivation, just draw a little circle around it. Okay? So whichever word you chose that has the big circle, it has more motivation for you, write down 3 words that are associated with that, either results or change, whichever one is most motivational for you. And we will share that in a moment. I'll give you a second to write those down.
Recording in progress.
Okay, so how is that to be able to talk about results and change? Okay, so I have a slideshow that I would like to use, and I'm going to share it with you so you can see the full process. Okay, here we go. I'm going to play this. Here we go. So, radar. You know, radar is used to detect. My dad was a air traffic controlist many years ago, and he used to talk about they had to watch the radar very carefully when radar came in. He was actually doing air traffic control way back in the 50s and 60s as radar was really being used a lot. But he used to talk about detecting planes on a radar, and they could detect how fast it came in, where it was, and if it was on their radar, then they had to help that plane in that was coming in, or that jet in. Well, years ago, I was being coached by a man by the name of Ben Dooley, and he came up with some terms that are, no matter what we do, they're always pointing towards results. And from that, I made up my own formula. And here it is. Okay, so radar, talking about change and results in radar. Here we go. So radar, R-A-D-A-R. So each of the letters represents a term, represents an idea. And this formula means radical awareness. The RA stands for radical awareness. Now we'll go over these in a few minutes. Radical awareness times decisions plus actions, D plus A, equals results. Now, I'm not what I consider a mathematician at all, but I do remember some things about my high school algebra. And I began to think about results are influenced by our decisions and actions, but we've got to have this awareness. And for me, it was not just ordinary ho-hum awareness. It had to be radical. It had to be focused. It had to be laser. And I realized it's sort of like that radical awareness has to be in our decisions, in our actions, and then on our results. So that's how I came up with this sort of semi-mathematical formula for radar. Radical awareness times decisions plus actions give you the results. So here we go. Now I'm going to do this backwards. I'm going to take the formula backwards to examine. We're going to start with results. Here we go. So radar, here we go. We're going to start with the R. We're going to start with results. Now, results. We all want results, whether it happens to be financial results, whether it happens to be relational and things, matters of the heart. Maybe it's how we spend our time on earth. And sometimes as simply as something we want to make, we want good results. We want results in our homes, or if we're building or renovating, what are the results we want? Travel. We're always looking for travel. Even our own moods. And then, so radar, those results we expect results in all those areas. Okay? So, now, what about the next term? The A, the action. Okay. Our actions. The steps, the measures, the exertion, the strategies, the effort, the drive, and the undertaking in order to get those results. In other words, what do you have to do to get the results that you want? And I'm going to invite you to think about change is woven in this too. When you make a change, the results of what you ordinarily do could change, could be affected. Okay. Now, the next term, decisions, is actually a mindset. So we're going to look at D for decisions. You make decisions all day long. But decisions are not just one simple, I made this decision and that's it. Decisions are made up of 3, maybe even 4 elements. And they are our thoughts. What are you thinking? What is going through your mind? Images, thoughts. What's the inner committee saying to you or not saying to you? Those affect our decisions. Our emotions, how we are feeling. Do you know what you are feeling? Can you put a word to it? Are your emotions high energy or are they low? Are they pleasant or are they unpleasant? Any one of those is going to affect your decisions. How you decide what you're going to do next to get the results that you want, to create the action that you want. And then the last one are our beliefs. And our beliefs are actually, they come from our thoughts, they come from our emotions, and there's another E I want to add in here, is our experiences. So our beliefs are formed when we are younger. They're actually given to us, and as we grow, we begin to expand on them. Sometimes we grow them, sometimes we reject them, sometimes we change them. So beliefs are ever changing, but they're very much dependent on our thoughts and our emotions and our experiences. So when you think of decisions, you have to take into consideration these 3 elements. So our results, our actions, and that those are influenced by our decisions. Okay. And then in radar, we're going to talk about the RA, the radical awareness. Radical, meaning not the ordinary, perhaps not the simple, but not necessarily the biggest. But radical is going to be different. And what may be radical to you may be ordinary to me. So it's a very individual thing. What you may think is a huge radical change you have to make or an action may seem simple to someone else, or a very simple awareness, something very simple could be just huge and life-changing to someone else. So radical is going to be out of your ordinary, out of your norm. And of course, awareness. Awareness covers not only our physical awareness where we are now, but also the inner awareness. I talked about that inner committee in our head when we talk about our thoughts. So radical awareness of both the physical and the internal, I'm going to say the external and the internal, is extremely important over each of these terms. Okay, so here's radical awareness. We have to have radical awareness over our decisions. So we have to be radically aware of, what do I believe, not only about the action I'm about to take, but what about the results that I want? What do I believe about myself in getting these results? You have to have radical awareness. What are the influences? What do I want? What do I believe that I am capable of? What do I believe others are capable of, particularly if you're working with a group and you're looking for a particular result? And then our emotions, being radically aware, how am I feeling? What are words that I can put to the sensations I have? And that's why I brought up, just starting very simply, my emotions. Am I feeling a high energy emotion? Or am I feeling a low energy emotion? Is this emotion pleasant or is it unpleasant? And I would invite you to check out an author called Mark Brackett, Brackett. He wrote a book called Permission to Feel. And he maps out our feeling words. Usually we're not raised to know a big vocabulary when it comes to our feelings and our emotions. But he's mapped it out. And one of the simplest ways is to decide right now, how are you feeling? High energy? Is it pleasant or unpleasant? If it's pleasant, he's actually given a color to it, maybe in the yellow. Are you feeling excited, happy, exhilarated? Or is it in the red? High energy, unpleasant, could spill over into nervousness, jitteriness, anxiety, anger, enragement. That's very high energy. Or is it lower energy? And if it's pleasant, Mark has given that color a green. That's where we are calm, reflective, patient. Or is it an unpleasant low energy? And he uses the color of blue. Now we use that in our language all the time. I'm feeling blue. And when somebody says that blue, it's sort of like, I'm feeling not very energetic. And that's where tiredness, fatigue, sadness, feeling morose, feeling depressed, where those land. And then, of course, later on in his book, he talks about being curious about how we are feeling, what quadrant are we in at any moment, being radically aware. And then learning strategies about how to understand this, how to express the emotion, and then how do I shift it? Do I want to stay in this quadrant for a long time? How can I shift it to a quadrant that is going to help me, motivate me, and yet be good for me? So that kind of radical awareness in our emotions. Our emotions are huge. And of course, our emotions and our beliefs come from our thoughts. Being radically aware of our thoughts. What are you thinking? What are you thinking right now? I'm going to invite you, I'll stop the tape here, but I'm going to invite you to write down what are some of the thoughts that are going through your head right now. I'm going to put this on pause if I can. Here we go. I'm going to put it on pause and let you write down, what are you thinking, right? What are the thoughts going through your mind? No one's going to see them. You don't have to share them. Just write them down. Okay. Now, I think I have to go back through because I paused this. I'm going to pause one more time. Here we go. All right, we'll come back to those. So once again, radical awareness over our decisions, our beliefs, emotions, and thoughts. And within that word, you can even actually make an acronym out of that. BET, B-E-T. Our decisions, you got to bet on your decisions. Okay. We have to have radical awareness over our actions. We have to be mindful. I love that word, and that's awareness. What am I doing? What am I about to do? And being able to evaluate, assess in the moment, is this action in my best interest, in everyone else's best interest? And thinking ahead, actually being radically aware, if I do this, what could happen? If I don't do this, what could happen? Not in a catastrophic way, but just looking at, plan A, plan B. What are my actions? And then being able to be decisive and say, I'm going to take this action now that I've examined my beliefs, emotions, and thoughts about it, and what the ramifications are of those actions. Are they going to help my results, or are they going to hinder them? And then finally, we have to have radical awareness over the results we get, and as well as the results that we want. So the results that we get, we have finished our project, we have finished our, whatever it is, our trip, our renovation, our meal, or our whatever we cooked. The results we get are the results we get. Is that what you wanted? Is it better than you expected? Or does it not come up to quite your expectation? And being aware again at how do you feel about the results you're getting? What are the thoughts going through your mind about these results? And then the results that you wanted, if they don't match, what are some beliefs that are coming up about that? So that radical awareness is key in our results and in the process of getting our results. So this brings me to results and change. So change, any kind of change, it could be the change in the weather. Today we've had sunshine and rain, wind, calm, and humidity, all within the last couple of hours. And any change, if I hung up my laundry, any change in the weather are going to produce different results for my laundry. So change affects our intended results. If I were to hang out that laundry, my results are I want them dry. I want to be able to use the line instead of using the dryer. But if it rains, they get wet. Now my results are going to change. I don't want to use the dryer, but I have to if everything's wet. And then if we have different results that we get are going to affect change. So they're sort of blended together, results and change. It's like pull them apart. What have we got? But when you put them together, change definitely affects results, and then our results can then be a catalyst for change, for either positive or negative. All different things to be radically aware of. So here's a question. When you are faced with change, any kind of change, could be incremental, could be life changing. We have had a lot of change in the last year and a half through COVID. All kinds of change. You don't go to the grocery store the same way anymore. Now we're beginning to be able to assemble in meat, but there's changes there. So when you're faced with change, using the radar, which one of these pairs would you say reflects you the best? Are you reactive and think the worst? Are you reflective and imagine the best? Do you go down the rabbit hole of what if? Or do you find out the facts and see what you can control? Do you get curious and find out what's really happening? Or do you get angry and fearful and want to hide? I'm going to stop here for a minute, or and you're going to stop the tape if you're listening to this, and write down the most recent change that you've had to deal with, and which one of these, anyone or groups of them, happened for you. Okay, I've given you a little chance to do a little reflection on that. What did you learn about yourself? What's come up that you weren't aware of before? Is this something that it would be something you wouldn't mind working with others in trying to look at attitudes and change and how to get different results or how to improve your results, just dealing with change? And I want to share with you that I'm offering a group program, and I'm calling it Radical Change. It's time, because all we have is right now. So I'm creating an online group program. It unfolds over 5 weeks through Zoom. And so there'll be weekly individual work before our 75-minute group call. And it's going to support you in strategies for your radical change. What's coming up for you? What are some things to look out for? What are some strategies to deal with that? And what are some strategies to be most kind to yourself? Because all of this change and results, we have to hold ourselves with that self-kindness as we're going through it. So, included in this, besides the group program, once a week from September 14th until October 12th, you'll get 2 45-minute support calls with me. This will help keep you focused and intentional. We're also going to have a support in a private Facebook group where people can share in between the calls, and I will be on that Facebook page. So if questions come up, and then continuous support through email, or you can text me, or you can say, I need a quick call as needed. All of that's included. September 14th to October 12th. And the cost for the 5 weeks is $197. Or if you have a friend which could be like an accountability buddy. There's nothing like going through a course together with someone that you know, and you can check in with them also in between times. And I'm offering a discount of $127 for you and your friend if that works out. So I would encourage you to think about this. You know, we can't make change and we can't be self-compassionate and by ourselves. We actually need other people. So in the chat, I'm going to put the information how to register for for this group program, and the information will be in the registration. I'm also going to put in my calendar link. So if you want to have a 15-minute call just to see, is this right for you? Is this the right time? That might help. We could talk together. Okay? So, change, radical change, it's time. So, a few slides ago, I asked you to think about how you responded to each one of these phrases. Which ones did you circle? Were you reactive or reflective? Did you go down the rabbit hole, or do you find out the facts? Did you get curious, or did you get angry and fearful? Neither one is right nor wrong, but that's part of that radical awareness. And I'm going to invite you now to share that. So I'll put this on pause. We'll go into our Zoom rooms and be able to share what's come up with for you in examining some of these things. Okay, where we go. Okay, we're back. What was that like to be able to share some of your thinking about each one of those? Okay. So at this point, I'm going to stop sharing here and come back. And I always love to ask, what's your takeaway from this experience, thinking about change and results? And the other question I always like to ask is, what's one action, one small action you are willing to do that will move your results, your change, move yourself further ahead, progressing in whatever it is that you brought with you. So I'm going to ask you to jot that down. Okay. And I will pause and we'll have time to share that. Okay, so here we go. All right, we're back. Okay, that accountability is so important. Now remember, I asked you to write down what your thoughts were. I'm going to ask you to, either on a different page or on the other side, to write down your thoughts now. What are you thinking right now, having been through this? I'll give you a few minutes. Okay, we're back. What did you notice? Was there a change in your thoughts? Or were they the same? How were you feeling? Did anything shift there? And if you happen to write down anything about beliefs about what you were doing and what you're doing now. Any shifts there? That's part of that radical awareness that is so important when we want to get results, particularly in the face of change. Okay. Thank you for being here and doing the work. So, to end, you've got your accountability, you've got your accountability partner, what to do. So I'm going to invite you to put out your left hand. And this is you in the world, in your family, in your community. And in your right hand, this is the work that you do. This is the results that you get and the change that you deal with. And now you have some other tools and strategies. So I'm going to invite you to put them together. You are a powerful change maker. You can make results happen in your own life, in your own thinking, and in others. And now I'm going to ask you to take your hands and just put them into your heart with the very most blessed intentions. And then take your hands and bring them out into the world, your good intentions, your results, and who you are. And then bring them back in for yourself. Thank you for being here with us.